Marvel. Awakening Words, Follow the Law, and Defeat Thanos. Chapter 1. 2007, March 17, the United States, Los Angeles, California. Skyscraper Building, Shining Star Technology Company, Limited, Chairman's Office. Lynn Duncan at the moment sits in the chairman's seat. Looking at the middle-aged Caucasian man in a suit and a pot-belly sitting across from him, a shadow flashed in his eyes. Lynn, don't struggle anymore. Your Duncan family's business is no longer viable. Sell it while it's still worth some money. The middle-aged man looked distressed and persuaded Lynn with kind words. Lynn looked at his face and sneered inwardly. I don't know what you have in mind. Is it nothing more than looking at the various technical patents of this company left by my parents? Even if I go bankrupt, I will not leave it to you. Toby and Smith, don't say more. This is the hard work of my parents and it is impossible to sell. Lynn refused decisively, her face very cold. Hearing Lynn's refusal, Tobian's face changed and threatened Lynn. Lynn, don't be ashamed. Your company will be dragged down by the development of the mobile operating system. When the time comes, it will go bankrupt and sleep on the streets. Don't worry about us. At this moment, he roared in anger and said, I'll say it one more time, don't be delusional. Lynn's tone was even more determined, and she didn't want to continue talking nonsense with Tobian. Good. 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 Toby remembered saying good things 3 times in a row, and his face was extremely difficult to see. Had he not been so patient with this 20-something young man if it weren't for the fruit company's promise of high repurchase prices? Simply delusional. Then let's see. Tobian's mood has reached its limit, and he doesn't want to stay any longer. Although the Duncan family is a major shareholder, other shareholders can still take back the chairmanship of the Duncan family. At that time, it can also sell for a lot of money. Lynn watched Tobian walk out of the chairman's office, and the moment he completely disappeared from sight, the domineering resolute attitude disappeared immediately. His whole body seemed to have lost his strength, and he slumped into his own chair. Grass. It's really bad luck. In the previous life, he failed to start a business, owed a lot of foreign debts, and was forced into a corner. It's hard to cross into a new world, a rich second generation. But the trouble is that, after a few days of enjoyment, the parents had a car accident directly. Check out the company's development. On a horse. Funds are in short supply, not to mention a large number of bank loans owed, and the mobile phone system research and development has been unsuccessful for a long time, and the company is about to be dragged down. If it is not saved, the company will go bankrupt in a month or 2. And the reason why Toby is keen on his company is entirely because his parents are like crazy gambling. Invest large sums of money in research and development of smartphones. As a result, all aspects of smartphone technology are mature, that is, the mobile phone system has never been researched, and various bugs always appear. Results Fruit Company took a look. Rely on. As long as the mobile phone system of Xingyao Company is researched, it will become a strong competitor immediately. In addition, Xingyao's mobile phone manufacturing technology is relatively mature, which can completely make up for some technical shortcomings of its own company. Simply buy your own company directly and eliminate competitors directly from the bud. Anyway, now that Xingyao Company is about to be dragged down because of the mobile phone system, it is a good time to acquire. Tobian was the middleman they were looking for, and he was going to take advantage of Lynn's just taking over as chairman, so he didn't know anything about his own company. Want to steal the city directly? Lynn looked at it. On a horse. Bully's predecessor has always been a rich second generation, who only knows how to enjoy, but does not understand business operations. If you want to rely on cheating, you can directly acquire Xingyao Company at a low price. Bullshit. Just let Lynn fight back. And more troublesome is. Lynn looked at the huge headline in today's paper with a wry smile. Tony Stark secret meeting in March model, Gibson. Rebecca. Think back to the Captain America memorial that the original memory browsed. A shadow flashed in his eyes. The world he travels through is not a peaceful world like Blue Star, but Marvel world. Rich people like Tony Stark have to be kidnapped next year. In the next few years, there will be the New York War, the alien invasion, and the arrival of the Protoss. What's even more terrifying is that there is still a purple sweet potato in the universe who always wants to engage in family planning. A snap of fingers kills half of life in the universe. I don't even know when a supervillain who wants to destroy the world will pop up. Typical high-risk world. For Lin, even getting through this catastrophe and becoming a rich man. Without his own extraordinary power, there is no ability to resist the impending danger in the future. Unless, like Tony Stark, spend a lot of money and arm yourself with the power of technology. Thinking of this, Lin is very distressed. Now that the company is on the verge of bankruptcy, she wants to survive and grow herself. Could it be? Really want to sell the company? In this case, it is too difficult to lose the accumulation of parents for many years and start from scratch only with funds. At the moment, a voice suddenly appeared in my ear. Ding, the way of speaking will adapt to this world with the system, and the rule will succeed. Starting. Startup successful. Dear host, hello, the system will serve you wholeheartedly. Current system level. Level 1. Please browse system information. Almost instantly, a lot of information appeared in Lin's brain, and under the shock of the information, he even felt dizzy. After a while, Lin raised her head, a look of joy on her face, and her eyes gleamed. His gold finger, here we come. Words follow the system. According to the system information, the biggest effect is just consume enough wealth. You can make the world pale in one word. One word changes the world. It's like the legendary big prophecy. I said, let there be light. Then the sky and the earth will burst with dazzling light, enough to blind anyone's eyes. I said, the soul is dead. Then the faint light flashed, and all the enemies in front of them instantly shattered their souls, and their bodies fell to the ground. Definitely, this is an advanced language application, and the current level 1 language system does not support it. Coupled with the limited wealth value, they can only initially interfere with the world, or simply affect the body. It is still impossible to directly distort the will of people and control the changes of the world. But the basis of the performance method and system comes from wealth value, which is the amount of money that Lin can control. The more money Lin gets, the more powerful he can use his words and interfere with the world. And now, the most important thing is sweepstakes roulette. Another core function of the word-of-speech system is that as long as there is sufficient wealth value, it is possible to draw prizes all the time. The prizes come from various collections in the previous system shuttle world. At present, the low-level lottery is opened, 10,000 wealth value is once, and each wealth point is equivalent to 10 meters. Although Xingyao Company is short of funds, Lin still has a lot of MI yuan. Not to mention, what the system consumes is not MI yuan, but the power of belief represented by MI yuan. System, open the lottery roulette, consume 100,000 wealth points, and draw 10 times in a row. Ding, the lottery roulette is on. Start the lottery. Congratulations to the host for drawing a dozen cokes. 1 emerald gem. Congratulations to the host for drawing a pair of white silk socks. Congratulations to the speed for drawing a mantra card. Congratulations to the host for drawing master-level programming skills. Congratulations to the host for picking up version 1.0 of the Hongwang mobile phone operating system. Seeing the result of the lottery, Lin's eyes twitched involuntarily, as if a strange thing appeared. But then, I saw the lottery information prompted by the system. A glimmer of joy flashed in his eyes, and he immediately spoke to the system with a tone full of impatience. Receive master programming skills. Receive version 1.0 of Hongwang mobile phone operating system. The core of a smartphone is the operating system. Other mobile phone hardware, with the technological power of the Marvel world, the technology has already matured. The operating system of the mobile phone directly determines the use effect of the smartphone. It is also the most difficult part of research and development, which needs the most talents and inspiration. Don't you see, Lin's father has a very accurate vision and directly invested a lot of money into the smartphone race. I thought I could take it to the sky. However, there are not many talents, the research and development force is not strong, and the mobile phone system developed is more and more bugs. Can't be used normally at all. As a result, it has been consuming a lot of funds, even if a lot of loans, it will bring down the Shining Star Company. As for the Fruit Company, I heard that the same is true for their mobile phone operating system. Especially in the January press conference, the industry said that it was fraudulent, and the whole press conference ended smoothly. But, if there is no problem with the memory of the previous life, according to the development trajectory, the mobile phone system of the fruit company should be mature, and even officially started to sell in June. At that time, with the rotten operating system of the previous Xingyao company, it will definitely be a dead end. And now, the system actually provides a mature smartphone operating system directly. Naturally, Lin was overjoyed. Receive master programming skills. Get the Hongwang mobile phone operating system. Almost instantly, a black USB flash drive appeared in front of Lin, slowly floating in his hand. At the same time, a large amount of programming information emerged in the brain, which was quickly digested and understood by a strange force. A few minutes passed. Lin opened her eyes, a glimmer of light in them. Right now top-notch understanding of software programming. Then, seeing the black U-disc in his hand, a smile appeared on his face. Go to the desk, turn on the computer, and insert the USB flash drive. With the knowledge in the brain, quickly browse. The smile on Lin's face grew stronger as he browsed through the code. Prehistoric mobile phone operating system, although I have never heard of it in my previous life. But according to his research, the discovery is the combination of Android mobile operating system and Fruit mobile operating system. It combines the advantages of both and eliminates the differences between them. More importantly, in this respect he is the same as the Fruit phone operating system. Not open source. In other words, not everyone can use it for free, you can use it only for yourself. Even, according to the knowledge he has acquired, and borrowing from the prehistoric mobile operating system, it is completely possible to develop an open source mobile operating system in a short period of time. By the time, Xingyao technology is equivalent to the first-hand Fruit and the first-hand Android in the previous life. Proper operation, enough to affect the global mobile phone industry. At that time, earning a lot of wealth will not be easy. As long as the wealth value is enough, you want to display a powerful performance, so even all kinds of extraordinary power are no longer a dream. Ha ha ha. It's really a desperate situation, God will never die for me. At that time, you will have the capital in one hand and the power in the other. Even in the world of Marvel, even in the United States government, I'm not letting me run amok. Then, look at other raffle products. Cola. After taking a sip, it still feels exactly the same as in the previous life. Stockings. I glanced at it, touched it, felt good, and felt a chill in my heart. Throw it directly in the trash. After an hour, Lin, who had calmed down his excitement, began to pick up the phone next to him. Jimmy, call Richard. After a while, there was a knock on the door. Boom, boom, boom. Please come in. Good morning, Lin. Lin raised his head and looked at the middle-aged white man in a blue shirt in front of him. A smile appeared on his face. He is very familiar with this person. It is also a confidant left to him by his father, and he can be trusted. In charge of the technical aspect of the company. In other words, he is the master of smartphone development. Uncle Richard, you and my father have a very good relationship, and you also watched me grow up. We, the Duncan family, trust you very much. I have a question now, please answer me seriously. We Xingyao company are only short of a smartphone operating system. I only saw that Richard's expression was slightly excited, and his tone was very positive. Yes, Lin. I can guarantee this with my career. As long as our mobile operating system is successfully developed, it will immediately skyrocket and the stock price will soar. At the moment the predicament, all the catastrophe, all vanished. It is good. I trust you. Hearing Richard's affirmative tone, Lin slapped the table and said aloud. Then the tone changed, and it seemed a little serious. Now, I have a full-fledged smartphone operating system on my hands. This system was specially researched by me during this period of time. In this way, you can take the U-disc in my hand, debug it, and see how it works. If there is a problem, you can continue to come to me and change it at any time. Having said that, Lin stretched out the white USB stick in his hand. This is the mobile operating system he specially copied. Looking at Richard's surprised eyes, he said softly with a smile. Anyway, I am also a top student who graduated from Harvard. I have won many scholarships and have been praised by all my mentors. Others, you can always call me a genius. Don't look at me not paying attention to the company on the surface, but in fact, how can I be indifferent to my father's company? With that said, Lin inserted the white USB flash drive into his hand. He patted his shoulder earnestly and joked with a smile. Uncle Richard, don't be stunned, try it out and see how it works. Don't forget to sign a non-disclosure agreement with your technicians and don't reveal any information. This is a chance for our Shining Star Company and our Duncan family to be reborn. After sending Richard off, Lin bowed her head in thought. Now, the company's biggest problem has bin solved. The rest is a matter of shareholders. Thinking of this, a cold light flashed in Lin's eyes. He hadn't forgotten Tobian's ugly face. 2 days later, Xingyao Technology Company, the technology department. Boss, this is the Xingyao smartphone debugged based on the Xingyao mobile phone operating system you provided. I have to say, you are a genius, no less than Tony Stark. After testing, the mobile phone runs very smoothly, which is not inferior to the previous demonstration by the fruit company at the press conference. What's more, who doesn't know that the fruit company has cheated before? If their mobile phone system has not been developed, we will send it out first, and the stock price will definitely skyrocket. There was a smile on Lin's face when he heard Richard's excited, gushing speech. Then said softly, haha, I've been looking forward to it for a long time. Let's take this opportunity to let the fruit company go to hell together. By the way, Uncle Richard, give me a cell phone that you have fully debugged, I will be very useful. Richard was stunned for a moment, and then said with certainty. Okay, wait a minute, I'll send someone to your office. However, our next step is to tell the shareholders this good news first. Stabilize their status. I heard that they have been making a lot of trouble recently, and some people even want to sell the company's shares. After hearing what Richard said, Lin narrowed her eyes, her tone changed, and she said indifferently. This is not in a hurry. For those overly active shareholders, I have to take care of them. We have to clean the house before we can treat guests. Hearing Lin's icy tone, Richard couldn't help shivering, took a peek at Lin, and stopped the urge to continue talking about the subject. Instead, he continued to chat with Lin about various aspects of the mobile operating system. As Richard kept asking some small questions, Lin answered them casually, and it suddenly dawned on him. Sometimes simply modifying a few codes directly on the computer will immediately make the system run more smoothly. Richard, including the surrounding staff, had a look of admiration on his face. When Lin saw this, his heart was somber. Lin looked around, though, and whispered in a voice that no one else could hear. I think, those who want to reveal secrets will cough violently. As a strange wave spread, the system wealth value decreased by 10,000. Lin saw that there was no coughing sound around, and a smile appeared on his face. Although, at present, the system cannot directly affect people's life and death, but there is no problem in slightly affecting people's health. Back in the chairman's office, Lin looked at the phone case on the desk with a smile on the corner of his mouth. Then, picking up the phone, Roar called the assistant. Jimmy, help me meet with the Stark Industries shareholder representative, Miss Pepper. Okay, boss. After a while, the office phone rang. As soon as he answered, it was the voice of Assistant Jimmy. Boss, you have made an appointment with Miss Pepper. We can meet at her office at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Lin heard Jimmy's reply, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. The Miss Pepper in Jimmy's mouth is Tony Stark's secretary, the future wife of the famous Iron Man, and the CEO of Stark Industries. It is also a coincidence that Lin and Pepper have a good relationship. They are all students of the same class at Harvard University, and even the original Lin once wanted to pursue Pepper as a rich second generation. As a result, Miss Pepper did not agree to Lin's pursuit, and finally went to work at Stark Industries. Hearing the news at the time, Yuan Shi was heartbroken for a while. As a result, I don't know what news Tony Stark heard later. Directly purchase stocks as an individual, become a shareholder of Xingyao Company, and become a large shareholder. Even made Miss Pepper a shareholder representative. Direct face-to-face with Lin's father, peer-to-peer exchange of business development. At that time, Lin's face was quite ugly when he heard the news. However, Looking back now, Lynn immediately understood the significance of Tony Stark's actions. Afraid to be jealous. Ha ha ha. Lynn will not fight an unprepared battle for Shining Star's shareholder meeting in 4 days. Now, Tony Stark personally owns up to 10% of the equity in Shining Star Company, and has a lot of right to speak in the entire company. You must know that the Duncan family is the founder of Xingyao Company and currently holds 42% of the equity. If you can get the support of Tony Duck or Miss Pepper, then you can directly control the operation of the whole company. More importantly, Miss Pepper and the others have no ill will towards the Duncan family, and they did not get involved in the mess of the fruit company. Coupled with the relationship with previous classmates, it is a helper that can be drawn. The next day at 9 a.m., New York, Stark Building. Lynn looked up at the Stark Industries logo above the building, a smile on her lips. This building, but Marvel's world-renowned location. I don't know how many classic scenes will happen here in the future, such as the Hulkhammer Loki. Ha ha ha. Immediately afterwards, Lynn restrained her smile, looked straight, and strode into the Stark Industrial Building. Board the elevator and enter Pepper's office. Seeing Miss Pepper with a delicate face and a slender figure, she called Roar. Good morning, Pepper. Morning, Lynn, long time no see. I heard about the recent things. I have communicated with your father before. He is a good person. Please mourn. Hearing the crisp voice on the other side, there was a trace of sadness in Lynn's eyes. Let Pepper see it. Then, with a straight face, he said to Pepper in a warm voice. This time, I have a present for you. With that, Lynn handed Pepper the gift box in his hand. I think you will definitely want to watch. With Lynn's language, a strange wave of fluctuations enveloped Miss Pepper. Miss Pepper, mixed with a hint of impatient emotion, opened the gift, a mobile phone case with her own hands. I saw a black cuboid, with edges and corners, very delicate, and there was a screen on the black cuboid that paid attention to color rendering. At the top of the screen are circular icons that look like some kind of technological artwork as a whole. Pepper said in a surprised tone. This is smartphone. 2 days later, Shining Star Company, conference room. More than a dozen shareholders of Xingyao Company sat on both sides of the long table in the conference room, and Miss Pepper was among them. I saw them whispering, occasionally looking up at Lynn. Duncan with a cold face. You said, old Duncan has passed away. Does this young man Lynn have any experience in running the company? What's the future? Who said no? I trusted old Duncan before, so I invested money in it. I really can't trust a rich second generation like Lynn. By the way, who have you heard that the fruit company is going to buy shares? Is this news true or false? Speaking of acquisitions, I'm actually a little interested. Seeing that Xingyao Company is about to collapse, I can get a little back now. After a while, Lynn looked down at the watch in his hand. 9 a.m., just right. Snapped. 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 Lynn gave a high five and made several crisp sounds, which immediately attracted the attention of all shareholders. I just heard him say softly. It's now 9 a.m. and the general meeting of shareholders officially begins. Here, we must first mourn Mr. Duncan, the former chairman of Shining Star Company, my father, who died in a car accident. Lynn took the lead in mourning for dozens of seconds, then said calmly. Next, I will take over my father's position and serve as the chairman of Xingyao Company. As for the future development direction of the company, I will continue to follow the development direction of the former chairman. Vigorously develop smartphones. Behind. At the moment, only one shareholder was seen, interjected suddenly. As for the company's development strategy, I think this point needs to be discussed again. Before, your father served as the chairman. With his ability to operate, I trust him very much. But, you, firstly, have no experience with business operations, and secondly, you have no experience in managing a company, why should we trust you? Even if you are a major shareholder of the company, but at a time when the company is in turmoil, we believe that for the better development of the company, the position of chairman must be carefully considered. Lynn glanced at the shareholder who spoke, named Patu, who held about 1% of the company's equity, and was considered a small shareholder. There was a sneer at the corner of his mouth, and he said in a somewhat arrogant tone. Mr. Pateau, why? Just because my father started this company, our family holds 42% of the equity. This is why I am the chairman of the board. Why? You only have 1% of the equity, and you want to be the chairman. Is it possible, if you really think I'm an idiot, you will let me down in just a few words, just talking about a dream? No matter who is behind you, let me tell you, it's impossible to destroy our Xingyao company with just a few words. Immediately afterwards, Lin was silent, looking at all the shareholders present. I saw the slightly arrogant words just now, and immediately made the entire conference room a little noisy. At the moment, Lin said in a tiny tone. I think, those who try to betray the company's interests, beware of impetuousness and dizziness. Almost instantly, Lin saw several people grunt, caressing their foreheads, closing their eyes, and rubbing their temples lightly. Seeing this, Lin narrowed her eyes and quietly remembered the people who had just stroked her forehead in her mind. After a short while, Lin stopped talking. The meeting room, which was somewhat noisy in the original version, gradually became silent. Seeing this, Lin said sincerely. Now is the time when the company is in turmoil. We should unite as one and overcome the difficulties together, instead of making a civil war here and making people laugh. I believe that even if my father is still alive, seeing this scene, I am afraid I will be unwilling. Having said that, Lin set his eyes on Tobian, his tone changed, and he said without the slightest emotion. We must always be vigilant about the malicious instigation of some people, and don't fall for the evil of others just because of a few words. Think about it, what are these people doing? It's not to bring down our shining star company and satisfy their interests. Following Lin's gaze, everyone looked at Tobian one after another, and Tobian at the moment couldn't sit still. Lin's words, inside and out, were aimed at him. The reason is this reason, but the words continue to let Lin continue, there is really no way to argue. So, Tobian stood up immediately and interrupted what Lin wanted to say next, and while it might have been distasteful, it had to be interrupted. Although your words still have some truth, you can't escape a fact after all. You were a rich second generation who only knew how to enjoy yourself. One had no ability, and two had no experience. In such a predicament, how could you lead Xingyao company to turn things around? Could it be that we listened to what you said and let you do whatever you want to lead the company to the abyss? That's the real irresponsibility to the company. Although you have 42% of the company's equity, it doesn't mean that you can cover the sky with one hand. All our shareholders unite and discuss a real path together is the only way to save Xingyao. Miss Pepper, don't you think so? Speaking of at the moment, Tobian sets her sights on Miss Pepper, who is the face of Tony Stark and holds a 10% stake in the company. It is said that the relationship between the two is not very good, and there is even a vague contradiction between the two before. With Miss Pepper's appeal with Tony Stark, she can definitely persuade everyone. Pepper heard Tobian's question, and was silent for a while, then spoke. Mr. Tony Stark thinks that Lin Duncan has the ability to inherit the position of chairman of Shining Star Company. 2 days ago, Tony's villa. After Pepper communicates with Lin, he took his smartphone back to Tony Dark's villa. I saw some Pepper Potts dressed as a business secretary walking into the villa bedroom. Seeing the scene inside, there was helplessness on his face. Only see Tony. Next to Stark was a female model in his arms, still falling asleep. It seems. I worked hard for a long time last night, and I still slept during the day. Then, very skillfully picked up the alarm clock next to it and turned it to the loudest. Standing aside, waiting for the two on the bed to wake up. With the sound of the alarm beeping, the female model woke up first, looked at Pepper in a formal suit next to her, and was stunned for a moment. Seeing himself naked, he turned to look at Tony, who was still asleep. Finally, looking at the expressionless Pepper, some don't know what to do next. Then, Pepper deftly handed the dress to the female model and placed the alarm clock next to Tony. Finally out of the bedroom. Wait quietly. After a while, the female model got dressed, walked out of the bedroom, looked at Pepper, and then looked at herself. Really? The Iron Pepper, the model of running water. Afterwards, I only heard Pepper say it expressionlessly, as if it had been said countless times. Tony. We'll do what Mr. Stark promised last night. Now, please leave the villa, the company needs to find Tony for something. The female model looked at Pepper, who reached out her hand, and subconsciously walked out of the villa and left in a car. The whole process was like running water, as if it had been rehearsed many times. It seems. I dare not say thousands of times such a scene, but at least hundreds of times. I really don't know how Tony's kidneys are made. And Pepper at the moment entered the bedroom and watched Tony, who was still asleep when the alarm clock didn't work. Extremely skilled, he walked to the wall and adjusted the temperature of the bedroom. Soon, Tony Stark woke up, looked helplessly at Pepper, who handed him the clothes, and asked lazily, "What's the matter? Pepper, what happened again?" "Sir, about your schedule. First, there is a charity dinner today." As Pepper said without expression and emotion, Tony was also very skillful in putting on his clothes and at the same time finding reasons to refuse. "I won't go to the charity dinner tonight, leave it to my pushy uncle." After a while, as Tony finished getting dressed, Pepper finished reading the schedule. Then said, "Sir, there are some problems with the Shining Star company that you invested in before, but their current chairman, Lynn Duncan, came to me today with good news, but wanted to ask for our help." "Excuse me, what is your attitude?" Hearing this, Tony was stunned for a moment, as if thinking about something, and then said in a light tone, as if a little depressed, "Lynn Duncan. I remember him, seems to have pursued you before. What happened? Could it be that your old relationship has rekindled? If Lynn is here, I'm afraid I can hear the feeling of jealousy." Only to hear Pepper say without a trace of emotion, "The chairman of Shining Star is Lynn's parents. He died in a car accident some time ago. Now he is about to take up the position of chairman and is caught in a fight within the company. And Shining Star, according to previous information, is about to collapse because it has not developed a mature smartphone operating system for a long time. However, Lynn came to me today and took out a brand new smartphone. I tried it out. The phone ran very smoothly. According to him, the operating system of the mobile phone was independently researched by him. I believe that once the smartphone is released, the share price of Shining Star will skyrocket, and your previous investment will gain a lot. And Lynn came to me to get your support at the shareholders meeting the day after tomorrow. Also, Lynn and I haven't seen each other for a long time after all, and have nothing to do with each other. Furthermore, my personal emotional problems are not your concern." Hearing this, Tony directly forgot the last sentence and said jokingly, "Oh, my poor Lynn, my parents died in a car accident and got caught up in an internal fight. I didn't expect that he was also a genius and could develop an operating system for a mobile phone by himself." Speaking of this, Tony was stunned for a moment. Why is the scene he just talked about so familiar? Parents' car accident. Corporate fight. A genius. Isn't this his template? Had it not been for the help of his uncle Obadiah, he would have lost control of Stark Industries himself. Come to think of it, Tony Stark felt the same way, but Lynn's previous pursuit of Pepper made him feel like a stick in his throat, a bit contradictory. After thinking about it for a long time, he said in a light tone, "I look at his smartphone system, and if it's what he says, it can support him." With that said, Tony picked up his smartphone and walked to the workbench beside him. "Research it." After a while, Pepper looked at Tony frowning slightly and asked with some doubts, "What's wrong?" "There is a problem with the mobile phone system. I tried it before and it was very smooth." I only heard Tony's reply with some sigh. "There's nothing wrong with the system, it's definitely a genius who made this system. The entire mobile phone system is running. Although there are bugs, they have little impact. I can even feel that these are left on purpose, and there are interfaces in some places. Prepare to keep it for upgrade later. And his technical level is not weak. The source code he encrypted cannot be parsed yet." Then, some stinky farts said, "Definitely, as long as I work hard and take the time, his source code is absolutely fine." Then, I heard Pepper say hesitantly, "So this time, shall we support Lynn at the shareholders meeting?" After getting Tony's affirmative answer, Pepper didn't think much of it and started chatting about Tony's other schedule. 2 days later, according to the invitation letter issued by Shining Star Company, she entered the conference room and waited for the opening of the general meeting of shareholders. Shining Star Company, conference room, shareholders meeting. Mr. Tony Stark thinks that Lynn Duncan has the ability to inherit the position of chairman of Xingyao Company, so he supports all his decisions. Tobian, who originally had a smile on his face, froze for a moment, and then became ugly. What happened? Not heard. Lin had pursued Pepper. Tony Stark did not like him. This time it is very likely to be on his side. Why? He will support Lin in all decisions. Lin, at the moment, had a smile on her face when she heard what Pepper said. Although he was ready for Tony Stark to stand on the opposite side. But it would be best if you were on his side. Immediately afterwards, Lin spoke loudly to the shareholders sitting in the conference room. Now, Mr. Tony Stark supports all my decisions. Our shareholding and Tony's shareholding together account for 52%, and we have an absolute controlling stake. So, do you have any questions about me sitting in the chairman's seat? Then, seeing the surprised expressions on the faces of the shareholders, a smile formed on the corners of their mouths. Immediately after, Lin said something silently. I think Toby should be extremely upset right now. At the same time, aim at Tobian's position and take out a skill card obtained from the first lottery draw. Mantra card. The function of the mantra card is to control every word that the other party says next to be the truth. At the same time, if you ask a question, there will be an answer. In Lin's line of sight, there was only a pale yellow light covering Tobian's brain. Then, seeing Toby's expression of extreme irritability and dissatisfaction on his face, Lin said softly. Tobian Smith, can you explain the reasons behind all your actions? Based on your previous behavior, I strongly suspect that you are bribing by a competing company and selling the company's interests. When some shareholders below heard Lin's straightforward question, a trace of disdain appeared in their eyes. A fool will answer directly. But then, a scene that shocked everyone happened. I saw Toby roaring impatiently because of his irritable expression. I am doing this for the good of the company. Now Shining Star has been dragged down by your parents' development strategy. We shareholders don't get any benefit at all. And now, the fruit company has said that they are willing to give me a lot of MI yuan to acquire Xingyao Company. For the sake of the company and for the shareholders, I will naturally try my best to facilitate this. Unfortunately, you little fool would rather drag the company into the abyss than sell the equity. Speaking of this, Tobian's tone was full of anger. Originally, I made arrangements here to force you to quit the position of chairman. Who would have thought that the lunatic Tony Stark would support you as an idiot for the chairmanship? It made me fall short. Hearing this, Pepper's face changed, with dissatisfaction and anger on his face. And everyone was shocked. For the first time, someone dared to expose their plans so blatantly. For the first time, I dared to blatantly abuse Tony Stark at a shareholder meeting. Ha ha ha. Lin laughed inside. Words with the law plus mantra card, the effect is striking. But, after all, Lin was professionally trained, so she suppressed the smile that was about to rise on her face and her face sank. To all the shareholders present, he said with a sad face and a low tone. I didn't expect that Tobian, my father's former friend, would treat his friend's company like this. I didn't expect him to be so confident in the company's development. Regardless of his feelings, he directly hooked up with outsiders and betrayed the company's interests. All of this is so heartbreaking. Immediately afterwards, Lin's tone was full of anger and shouted at Tobian. Tobian, you said, what you have done is worthy of my father. At the moment, Tobian just came back to his senses and found himself very angry, out of control, and completely unable to control what he said. There was panic and anxiety in his eyes. Immediately afterwards, as if stimulated by Lin's words, he roared angrily. Everyone understands, and they get together to make money. Your Xingyao company is almost finished, can you still let us bury you? If you want to say sorry, it's your father who is sorry for me. Everyone was instantly shocked by Toby's shameless words. Even Pepper was stunned, and his mouth opened slightly, showing his inner shock. Although everyone understands the matter, who dares to shout loudly in front of everyone? Is there something wrong with your brain? Who would dare to cooperate with him in the future? In response, a smile appeared directly on Lin's face, and then his face sank, showing grief and anger. It seemed that Toby was heartbroken by what he said. I know that some people may not have confidence in the company's development strategy. However, our company can only get out of the woods if it sticks to the smartphone road. Maybe, some people really want to sell their stocks and want to recover their losses. Even if the price is a little lower. Even, want to sell the company and sell the interests of other shareholders. Immediately afterwards, Lin's tone changed, with a sincere expression in a loud voice. I am personally full of understanding for such behavior. Here, I make a pledge in the name of the Duncan family. If you want to sell stocks, you can come to me. I am willing to buy stocks at a price that is 10% higher than the market price. But time is limited to now. After all, this is a business that my parents have worked so hard for many years, and I can't bear to see it collapse due to the Civil War. Saying that, Lin gestured to the assistant standing beside him. He handed the prepared stack of equity transfer contracts to the assistant and asked him to send it to everyone in the conference room. Immediately afterwards, Lin turned on the system of uttering the law and said it silently. I think, all shareholders who are willing to sell their shares will sign. In order to make the system work better with words, Lin has done some research these days. Although it is said that it is only a level 1 speech, it can only initially interfere with things, or the human body. In other words, it is impossible to directly form an energy attack, and it cannot distort the human will. It can only affect the way things work slightly, or affect part of the body's health or mood. But, as long as things develop logically, the power of speaking out can be magnified. For example, he pretended to be sad and angry before, said so much, and made so many preparations. Just to make the next scene go smoothly. It not only prevents others from picking the thorns, but also magnifies the power of speaking out and influences people's thoughts. At this moment, Lin looked at some shareholders in the conference room and got the equity transfer contract. He glanced at the contract briefly, his expression revealed hesitation, and then he was under the influence of a light red strange force. His expression turned very firm. A stroke of the pen. Under Lin's gaze, he signed his name. Lin was overjoyed at this. But the face is full of seriousness. Pity. Decisively. It seems that he is generous to sacrifice himself, and at the same time feels pity for those who sold their equity. As for the Mi Yuan who bought the equity. Don't forget the emerald gemstones obtained by the lottery before, the estimated value is several million yuan, and the smartphone system has been successfully developed. He gave the bank a lot of confidence and loaned him another RMB. This time, we must take back full control of the company. Pepper, who was on the side, watched the scene in front of him. Confused. It feels incredible. To say. Things have developed so far, and the logic in it is completely fine, and everything is going very smoothly. But, this is the first time she has encountered such a smooth and somewhat strange general meeting of shareholders. Self-destructing self-destruction. Sign the signature. The whole thing, the whole process, is really weird. But can't tell where is the problem. But, she knew that this time, Xingyao Company or Lin Duncan absolutely held the power of the company, and the stock price soared. Immediately don't think about it anymore. Anyway. Tony Tank is also a shareholder of the company. He has received news before and is also in the market to acquire shares. This time, following the east wind, the equity in the hands will definitely rise, and the money will be made a lot by then. As for Lin Duncan, although I haven't seen each other for a long time. But in these few contacts, I found that people have changed a lot, whether it is ability or means, they have become abnormally fierce, exceeding ordinary people. Can be called a company development chief helmsman. Even. I wanted to pursue her before, but now I can't feel it at all. Otherwise. Even if Lin becomes the chairman of Shining Star, she won't get too much contact. Lin didn't notice the change in Pepper's psychology. After all, he doesn't have the ability to telepathically either. But, he clearly felt that Pepper was very satisfied with the unusual cooperation in this cooperation. As expected of the future CEO of Stark Industries. There will be opportunities in the future, and there will be more exchanges. Tony Stark's Arc Energy Stack, his eyes are very hot. Energy, the lifeblood of the United States economy. After a while, watching all shareholders stop writing. Lin gestured to Assistant Jimmy next to him. Subsequently, Assistant Jimmy took back the contracts in everyone's hands. Into two piles. The pile in the left hand has not been signed, and the pile in the right hand has been signed and sealed. Lin, see here. The contract for picking up the right hand was roughly turned over. Nodding with satisfaction, this time. About 30% of the equity is recovered. In other words, he now holds 72% of the entire company and has an absolute controlling position. See this. Lin raised his head and spoke aloud to the shareholders who signed. The fee for equity, back in your bank account in an hour. Contact my assistant Jimmy for details. Now, because you have lost your status as a shareholder of Xingyao Company. Terribly sorry. Please leave the conference room, we need to further communicate the company's future development strategy. Then, when Jimmy opened the door of the conference room and gestured for it, 15 shareholders went out one after another, and only 8 shareholders remained in the conference room. See here. Lin nodded with satisfaction, a smile on his face. Facing the remaining 8 shareholders, he smiled and said softly, "Thank you to the remaining shareholders for their support of Shining Star. I believe that Xingyao Company will never fail your support." For what Lin said, some shareholders were happy, but secretly cursed. If not, Lin approached me privately a few days ago and said that you independently developed a smartphone operating system. Want to get your own support. Lao Su also sold the shares. Lin also thought of the thoughts of some of the shareholders below. He's not that stupid, he's just looking for pepper. If Tony Stark doesn't support it, isn't it game over? Therefore, we found a few shareholders with relatively good relationships. After a simple chat, he instantly fell to his side. Certainly, these shareholders may have also bought some shares in private. But time is limited, it's all small issues, not worth mentioning. Afterwards, Lin said aloud with a smile on his face and a joyful tone to all the shareholders. Now, I have good news to announce. We, Xingyao Smartphone Operating System, have been officially developed. Our Xingyao Smartphone Operating System has been officially developed. This system was developed by myself with a lot of energy, and I named it Xingyao. Now, everyone can experience it. While we experience it, we will explain the future development strategy of the company to everyone. As he said that, looking at the shocked eyes of most shareholders, he turned to the assistant standing next to him, and said softly with a smile, "Jimmy, don't hurry up and give our smartphones to the shareholders." Afterwards, I watched all the shareholders hold their smartphones, turn them on and try them out. Then continue to communicate privately. My God, it's real, it's not a dream, the smartphone system has finally been developed. Smith, I just tried it. The phone runs very smoothly without any problems. It's much better than the fruit company. Really, did our stock price skyrocket this time? Haha, fortunately I didn't choose to leave. You said, is this a game set up by Lin and the others? Shish. Don't talk about this, it's all unlucky, deserve it, let's take advantage of this time to make a fortune. Exactly. Looking at the whispering shareholders, and at the equity transfer contract just placed next to him. All of a sudden it feels. The back is straight. At last. Cough. 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 Lin coughed a few times, and all the shareholders immediately stopped communicating privately, and all looked at Lin with obedient eyes. Lin felt the obedience of everyone's eyes, a smile flashed in his eyes, and he said loudly. Next, I will explain the development plan given to us in the future with all shareholders. We're going to hold the Xingyao mobile phone launch conference on April 5th, and the mobile phone will be officially released in June. During the period, we will make every effort to produce Xingyao smartphones. During this time, Pepper sat quietly beside him, watching Lin smile or encourage or beat some shareholders. Brand, marketing, production, sales, one by one finalized. Settled piece by piece. All the shareholders just nodded and agreed, and the others didn't dare to breathe a sigh of relief. Pepper suddenly felt that all he knew about Lin before. It's all an illusion. His gentleness, his quietness. It's all just appearances. Hidden beneath the surface is arrogance. Yes, it is arrogance. Not a good word though. Between arrogance and arrogance, the meaning is only the slightest. But Pepper thought about it over and over again, and felt that the word best suited Lin's smiling face at the moment. Where did he come from? A monster comparable to Tony. Previously, she had always thought Tony was extremely arrogant. But unlike Tony, Tony's arrogance is because of his extreme confidence in his IQ and skills. And Lynn, it's as if everything is under control. So, acting even more arrogant than Tony Stark. Suddenly, a trace of remorse flashed in Pepper's heart. Such a person, who holds the absolute controlling stake in the company, how will they view the equity in the hands of others? Afterwards, he shook his head slightly in distress. Don't think about it anymore. Anyway, she's just Tony Stark's equity agent, not his wife. As for the future, let these two monsters fall in love and kill each other. Thinking of this, a smile appeared on Pepper's delicate face. Then, time passed minute by minute. Soon, it was close to noon. The general plan for the future that Xingyao Company is allowed to disclose has all been shared with shareholders. The general meeting of shareholders has officially ended. Everyone left with satisfaction and excitement. And Pepper is at the end. Suddenly, hearing Lynn screamed, he stopped immediately. Pepper, thank me and Mr. Tony Stark. Thanks again for his support. I believe that Shining Star will not disappoint his investment. Hearing Lynn finished speaking, Pepper replied in a clear voice. Okay, I'll report everything to Mr. Tony at the shareholders meeting. Immediately afterwards, Lynn spoke softly. The Stark mobile phone conference on April 5th, I would like to invite Mr. Tony to come, and ask Miss Pepper to report to Tony Stark together. Xingyao Company, looking forward to Mr. Stark's presence. Hearing this, Pepper nodded lightly, and then stepped out of the conference room. At night, Tony Stark Villa. A surprised voice was heard. Are you sure? Lynn. Duncan did that at the shareholders meeting. No way, are you lying to me? Ha ha ha, 80% of those shareholders are big fools. Such a few words, self-exposing, signing the signature, isn't the brain flooded? To be honest, if only our shareholders at Stark Industries were like this. Otherwise. Pepper was deadpan as he listened to Tony's sneering tone. She was also speechless about Tony's temperament. If it weren't for the high salary, I would have quit my job long ago. Then, only Pepper was heard to interject. By the way, Tony, Lynn. Duncan asked me to invite you to their mobile phone launch, are you going? I'll reply here. In this regard, Tony Stark pondered for a moment, then said with a smile. If that's the case, then Lynn invites Pepper and Tony. As for whether they would come, he wasn't sure. Especially now with Tony's character. Completely like a child, even worse than a child. Only after a catastrophe will become Iron Man. It's best to come naturally. Cannot come. He also wants to make a lot of money. Just wait for the mobile phone to be sold successfully and get a lot of money and wealth. You can upgrade the language with the system. By the time you can use the extraordinary ability. Come to think of it, it's a little exciting. Ha ha ha. Lynn kept muttering inwardly, and a smile appeared on his face. Then, looking at the empty conference room, Lynn left slowly and walked towards the technical department. Now, the most important thing is smartphone. If there are mistakes in this area, everything is delusional. After a while, go to the technical department. Watching Richard and a bunch of techs working on a smartphone system. Then he said softly, and started to follow the law. I think people who don't work hard should be dizzy. Almost instantly, in Lynn's field of vision, a red light spread to the technical department. Seeing that almost no one in it appeared to caress his forehead. Satisfied nod. Worthy of being a technician, more than those shareholders. Much purer. Then, a wry smile formed on the corner of his mouth. Well-spoken words follow the law. An extremely strong combat skill, he was stunned to use it as a screening skill. Why? Lynn sighed deeply inwardly, then turned straight. Turn around and leave and go back to your office. Enter the office and sit in your boss chair. Silently open the lottery roulette. Why worry? Only a raffle. Take advantage of the wealth value accumulated in your hand now, take a draw. Maybe something good can come out of it. After a long time. Lynn's eyes were dull, looking at a series of items in the system space. Cola. Milk. Desk lamp. Face mask. Facial mask. It's all a bunch of worthless stuff. After spending 500,000 wealth points and drawing 50 times in a row, I got these junk. There are even many times to thank you for your patronage. Really. I am an African chief, and the first time I won the grand prize is also a novice gift package. Then, Pissed off generally one last time, no matter what the result is, it will not be drawn again. Looking at the turntable that appeared in front of me, it kept turning. Suddenly. Stopped. Ding, congratulations on getting a washing smartphone. Hearing the news from the system, Lin immediately looked overjoyed. This is a good thing. This means luck is back. Immediately put aside the thoughts just now, take advantage of the time to run, and pump a few more times. Consume 100,000 wealth points all at once, and get a 10 draw. A box of toilet paper. Pen. Professional driving skills. Data line. A box of mineral water. Rely on. I knew that I was an African chief, and I knew I shouldn't be so cheap. There is only one driving skill, which is a bit valuable. But the problem is, he is an old driver. This skill is not as useful to him as a pen. Then, she closed the lottery roulette decisively. On a horse. Next time I will draw a lottery, I will turn it over and write it. Then, set your sights on the lottery space provided by the system. There was good news just now. A smartphone. What are you really looking forward to, come what? Just this prize is enough to make up for the wealth value of all the lucky draws. It seems. Your luck should be used on this. Lin thought silently, rubbing her chin. Then, a smile was drawn on the corner of his mouth, and he followed the words systematically. Receive the prize, washing smartphone. Almost instantly, a black smartphone appeared in front of Lin. Reach for it, and press and hold the power button. Then, with a smile on his face, he looked at the familiar startup screen. This is a good thing. Although he has already obtained a mature mobile phone operating system. But some plugins, some software, cannot be said to be very perfect. Now, there is this full-fledged smartphone. You can analyze the various software inside. Even if you can't get mature software like those in the previous life. However, the software that comes with the mobile phone, such as input method, memo, music and so on. Just parse out their software code and modify it slightly. You can quickly put it in your mobile phone system. It is equivalent to a collection of mature software for prostitution. Think about it. Some sweetness. Then, Lin turned on the computer, plugged in the cable, and used his master programming skills. Begin to analyze the built-in software of this phone. On April 5, at 8:30 a.m., Los Angeles, the scene of the Xingyao smartphone conference. The whole press conference site has not yet started, and it has already begun to be very noisy. There are discussions everywhere. Have you heard? The internal equity of Xingyao company has undergone major changes, a large number of shareholders have left, and now there are new products released. It is said that they will compete with the fruit company. What do you think? I think it's enough. The fruit company has a lot of capital in the background, and Xingyao company heard that the funds are about to be dragged down some time ago. I think it's hanging. I don't think so. I heard that Tony Stark is very supportive of Lin Duncan, chairman of Xingyao company. When he makes a move, wouldn't the stock price of Xingyao company fly up? What support? I have a source, and I heard Lin and Tony are rivals in love, and it would be nice if they didn't fight. Ah, really? That's funny. At the moment, I suddenly heard a loud noise in the distance. Tony Stark is coming. Mr. Tony Stark, what do you think of Shining Star Company? Are you very optimistic about coming to Shining Star's press conference this time? Mr. Stark, there is a tabloid report that you bought a stake in Xingyao company because you were jealous of your female secretary, Miss Pepper. Is it true? Mr. Stark, it is rumored that you are responsible for the operating system of Xingyao company's mobile phone. Is it true? Mr. Stark, it is said that you are very optimistic about Lin Duncan. You think it is a man-made talent, or do you think his background is similar to yours? Both parents died, so you support him. Tony Stark walked down the path opened by the bodyguards with a blank face, and he had long been impatient with these reporters. If not, he turned his gaze to Pepper, who was wearing a secretary outfit next to him. Well, if it weren't for Pepper being next to him, he would have gotten up long ago for fear of being stopped. To know. Back then, he made a special purchase of their publishing house and fired reporters for a report. At that time, the entire reporter industry dared to report unscrupulously against him. Pity. It was back to normal after a while. He was also very helpless, but he had been warned once by his uncle Obadiah, and he did not do the same thing again. Otherwise, these lace tabloids dared to target him again, Uncle Tony, who would have already started repairing their publishing house. Entering the main hall of the press conference, Tony felt a lot calmer all of a sudden. Those reporters, watching the majestic black security guard standing beside them, began to restrain their hands, feet, and words. It seems these reporters really don't remember to eat. Then, sitting in his exclusive seat, he glanced at Pepper, who was sitting next to him, and began to close his eyes slightly and take a break. To know. He had a good time last night. Time passed by, and it was 9 a.m. in the blink of an eye. As the bell rang, Xingyao's smartphone launch conference officially started. I saw a very handsome young man in a blue suit, Lin. Duncan walked to the front of the stage. He spoke confidently into the speaker. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our Shining Star smartphone launch. I believe that Xingyao's products will never disappoint everyone. Below, I will introduce the company's product positioning. As Lin continued to speak, her tone was confident and decisive. The writers below moved the pen and paper in their hands one after another. These messages. Newspapers will be available by then. After a while, Tony Tank, who was drowsy after listening to the report, suddenly got a shock. That's it for the products of Xingyao Company. Please ask reporters to ask questions below. Almost instantly, a large number of reporters began to raise their hands. When Lin saw this, the corners of her mouth twitched slightly, and she pointed at a reporter with a familiar face and shouted. Reporter 48, please ask questions. He is not stupid. This press conference is very important. If you ask any reporter to ask questions according to their urine, dare to ask any question, dare to talk about any topic. At that time, if you mess up your own release, you will be a muggle. Therefore, make an appointment with reporters in advance, and book the exchange of questions. Really? I saw reporter number 48 stand up and ask questions. Excuse me, Mr. Lincoln, how confident are you in your products? What do you think about the fruit company's competitors? This question is his first choice. Specifically to show the strength of their star company, and satirize the fruit company by the way. So, Lin replied confidently. Our Xingyao mobile phone system is absolutely very stable. We have tested it specially, and we are absolutely confident to surpass those competing products. Especially, some companies have not yet completed the mobile phone system, and they have openly held a press conference, which is simply teasing reporters and teasing the audience. We have always been very shameless about such behavior. We're pretty confident that unless the phone ages, the system runs very smoothly. The reporter below, upon hearing these words, turned on the recorder every minute and started recording. This is a good topic. The title is well thought out. Xingyao Company bombarded the fruit company and questioned its system. Shock. Xingyao Company is doing this to its own mobile phone system. Unbelievable, peers revealed, the fruit company actually. Well, this scene is for Lin to see. Definitely think it's the UC shock party crossing into the world of Marvel. Feeling that after this question was asked, Love has recruited several reporters one after another. But basically they answer the question of the mobile phone system. This answer is very official and off topic. Don't give them a chance to make trouble. This will not work. This caused the writers below to show dissatisfaction and prepare to make trouble. Tony Stark sees this and keeps his mind on the show. These reporters usually get a little impatient with him. If you want to make trouble at the press conference, it will really be a good show. As Lin kept picking up the scheduled reporters, asked the scheduled topics. The other reporters below began to make noise. I saw a female black reporter suddenly stood up, holding a microphone prepared in advance. Shouted loudly. Mr. Lin, what is your relationship with Tony Stark's secretary, Ms. Pepper? I heard that you had pursued her, and Stark was jealous because of it, and invested in your Stark company. Is it true? Mr. Lin, what is your relationship with Tony Stark's secretary, Ms. Pepper? I heard that you had pursued her, and Stark was jealous because of it, and invested in your Stark company. Is it true? Hearing the question from the black female reporter, Tony Tank, who was standing by to watch the show, turned black. This matter, the public is divided. But say it face to face. What's the meaning? And Pepper, who peeked at the side, saw that his face sank. At the moment, Lin was stunned. Western journalists are indeed different. In his previous life, Blue Star, he rarely heard of reporters asking about other people's scandals at the press conference. No professionalism at all. Lin snorted. Pick up the microphone and reply loudly. This reporter, I'm sorry, we need to raise our hands to ask questions. We don't approve of behavior like yours. Besides, the question you asked has nothing to do with our company's product launch. Originally, should I answer your question? But, in the interest of Ms. Pepper's reputation, here I must reply clearly. During college, it was true that I had a classmate relationship with Ms. Pepper. Indeed, there was once an active pursuit. But, Ms. Pepper and I are just classmates, and there is no so-called boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. And Mr. Stark, the reason why he invested in our Starlight company. Purely because Shining Star is a company with great potential, and the reality is just like that, we have developed a cross-generational smartphone product. And now, I am bent on developing the company, devoting all my energy to the development of the company, and I am not interested in pursuing women. So, please don't have related rumors, we reserve the right to complain and pursue the law. What the hell? What the hell is a reporter asking such a question? How could it be possible to answer directly? It's purely an enemy. You know, the current Tony Stark is not the future Iron Man. Purely a child, with a hot brain, dare to do anything. Fortunately, I was wise enough to answer this question satisfactorily. At night, you must have a good vent. That blonde girl from last night, with her long legs, was really nice. Especially that waist, tisk tisk, can play for another week. Decided. This evening, the Four Seasons Hotel started walking. As for this, it has nothing to do with the pursuit of women, it is purely a friendly transactional relationship. Purely Western. Lin thought silently in his heart, and what he didn't notice was that there was a trace of saliva flowing from the corner of his mouth. After noticing, reach out and touch it. Well, pure hunger, nothing to do with the blonde at the Four Seasons tonight. Immediately afterwards, Lin's face darkened. I saw another white female reporter stand up and quickly run to the front. With extremely dexterity, he avoided the blocking security and put the microphone directly to Lin's mouth. Ask out loud. Mr. Lin, please, it is said that this mobile phone operating system was developed by Tony Stark, otherwise your Starlight company will be dragged down by mobile phones. Excuse me, is this true? If that's the case, isn't Tony Stark the real savior of the Shining Star company? On a horse. What's the problem? This system is obviously developed by Lao Su, and it has nothing to do with Tony's tank. How can anything be related to Tony Tank? Who is he? Is he the savior? Well, it seems like the future is real. No matter, now the question is how can this female reporter be so agile? Even the security guards can't stop them. Are all these black people eating dry food? Could it be? When you see a white beauty, you won't move. Lin set her eyes on the white female reporter in front of her. Looking at her delicate face and slender figure, she couldn't help thinking to herself. But, Lin stared at the reporter's ID that was pushed up on the female reporter's chest, as if it was about to float. Not just a sigh. Great murder. Seeing that you are a fierce beauty, I will let you go this time. Then, he looked at the press card seriously, and said seriously. Miss Catherine, I have to make a statement about this. The mobile operating system developed by our company has nothing to do with Tony Stark. It's me doing the programming myself, and I own the full patent rights. Such a message is baseless and unconvincing. So, please don't send out any more relevant messages, otherwise we will maintain the right to prosecute. Also, your behavior just now is very dangerous and completely inconsistent with the rules of the press conference. If the same situation occurs again, I can only ask the security to ask you out. With that said, Lin motioned to the assistant Jimmy next to him with his eyes to pull away the Catherine reporter in front of him. At the same time, he gave Jimmy another suggestive look. Assistant Jimmy understood, and immediately stepped forward, reaching out to ask Catherine reporter to sit back. Then, under the strict watch of black security guards. This phenomenon never happened again. Shining Star's press conference officially ended. And Tony Stark, with a stretched face, took Pepper back to his Stark Industries. Now, he didn't want to say a word to Lin. Night, Four Seasons Hotel, room 702. I saw Lynn open the bathroom and said in surprise to the beautiful woman inside. Miss Catherine. Seeing only a huge amount of white shirt covering Catherine's body, Lynn took a closer look and was amazed. Instant dry mouth. So he said with a smile. Miss Catherine, weren't you interested in our company's mobile phone operating system before? Now, I can be your teacher. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Saying that, he took Catherine's little hand and walked to the bedroom desk. Catherine cooperated very well and followed Lynn towards the bedroom, and the two communicated while walking. I only heard Catherine say a little coquettishly. I heard you working on the system alone, Lynn, this morning. Is this real? Lynn nodded and said somewhat proudly. Definitely, looking at the whole world from a distance, in the field of programming, my ability is the top. A mere mobile operating system is very easy for me. Really, I admire a genius like you. Seeing this, Catherine asked curiously. Then may I ask, when was it developed? Why are there rumors that your father's previous company had a lot of problems with mobile phone operating systems? Seeing this, Lynn smiled and said with a confident tone. I had heard that my dad, Tyler Duncan, was having trouble with this before, so I started researching it very early on. Originally, I wanted to surprise my father, but it turns out that, in this case, you are really a genius with filial piety. I want to ask. While talking, the two began to learn and communicate further. The next day, early morning. Lynn, who had just woken up, saw that Catherine was still sleeping. Lynn got up gently and left the room for her to rest. There was a stack of rice dollars next to it. Then he drank a cigarette, walked out of the hotel, and drove to Xingyao Company by car. This time, it is purely to solve the confusion for female friends, and to spread the reputation of his genius by the way. As for what happened last night, this was a small price he had to pay to promote his reputation and sacrifice his masculinity. Well, Lynn thought so. We'll try again tomorrow night. It is said that Tony Stark's trick is not bad, and he can learn from it at that time. Shining Star Company, Technology Department. Looking at Richard frowning tightly, Lynn, who was in a good mood, laughed loudly. Uncle Richard, what's wrong? What's the problem? The matter of the mobile phone system, even if you ask, I am quite familiar with this aspect. Seeing this, Richard asked directly. Lynn, regarding the Xingyao system you developed, there are some incompatibilities between his two places, which affects the boot speed. The technical department debugged for half a day, but the problem still hasn't been solved. Also, regarding the later upgrade, we found that there will be bugs. Once the upgrade package is too large, the upgrade cannot be performed at all. And also, Richard asked the question while pointing at the computer. But these problems, in Lynn's eyes, are little troubles. With his top programming ability in the whole world, it's like a pattern in the palm of your hand, and it's easy to find the root cause. Just say a few words and enter a few lines of code. One final test, and Richard's frowning brows relaxed. Cannot help but admire. Lynn, you are a genius at programming. No, to say that geniuses are wronged, they are simply evildoers. Immediately afterwards, Richard's tone changed, as if recalling something, he said in a slightly low tone. Lynn, with regard to the production of smartphones, you still have to pay more attention to this aspect. According to the original plan, at the end of June, that is, the new mobile phone will be released at the same time as the fruit company. Play the ring. But we only have more than 2 months left. If we can't produce enough, no matter how good the quality of the product is, it will be at a disadvantage. To know now whether it is shareholders or the public, what they look at is sales, and what they look at is income. If we can't match the fruit company, it will undoubtedly make others think that our company is not good. You must pay more attention to this point, otherwise. Having said that, Lynn patted Richard's shoulder lightly and said comfortingly. Don't worry, regarding the production of Xingyao mobile phones, don't worry, I have already made arrangements. These are the key things about our smartphone sales. I have already arranged for the production department to connect with some large manufacturing plants. With that said, Lynn looked eastward. There is a mysterious country there, and his industrial manufacturing ability and cost are among the top in the world. At this point, Lynn knew it from a previous life, and at the moment he was relieved. Therefore, He has long since asked the production department to connect, and with his large number of skilled labor, he will soon be able to produce a large number of smartphones. Now, the most important thing is that after more than 2 months, the Xingyao smartphone is officially launched. To this end, he has put in a lot of effort. The first step in his rise depends on how much benefit Xingyao Mobile can get. His words follow the system. The current level is still level 1, and he can upgrade as long as he has enough wealth. Until then. Not long after the press conference ended. Rebs, chairman of the fruit company, is sitting in his office, dealing with the business at hand. As the boss of a large company, he has a lot of things to do. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Dong dong dong. Rebs came in and saw his assistant walking towards him with a report in his hand. The tone was a little unusual. Chairman, something happened at Xingyao Company, they. April 6, the United States, California, Silicon Valley, Fruit Company headquarters. Rebs, chairman of the fruit company, sat in the main seat of the conference room with a solemn expression, looking at the managers of various departments below. Immediately afterwards, he aimed at the white man sitting first on the left, and said in a serious tone. Curry, didn't you guys investigate Shining Star Company before? I remember your previous report, saying that their Xingyao company has almost collapsed because of the development of mobile phone systems. All can be bought at a low price, but why they developed a mobile phone operating system, we will not know until his press conference. I need an explanation. Curry looked at Rebs with a serious face, and said calmly. Chairman, I'm sorry, I'm sure, I received confirmation before that their mobile phone system has not been successfully developed. To be exact, it's not even a prototype. I obtained the system they developed through certain means, and found that there are too many bugs in it. It's only been less than a month, how can it be possible to develop a mature mobile operating system? I strongly suspect that they are completely falsifying this conference. You know, this kind of method is not uncommon for us. The goal is to raise the stock price, issue additional shares, and escape ashore. Rebs looked at Curry with a calm face, and his expression became a little surprised. Are you sure? But have you ever thought about what if Tony Stark got involved? A genius like him, maybe he made a mobile phone operating system. Hearing Reb's question, Curry said softly with a smile. Chairman, I have thought about this too. As we all know, Tony Stark's arrogant temperament, if he really developed it, would have started to shout at this conference. And this time, that young man, Lynn Duncan, openly declared at the press conference that he researched the mobile operating system. And Tony Stark didn't say anything, which just shows that he doesn't know anything about Xingyao's mobile phone operating system. More importantly, I asked his uncle Obadiah specifically. You know what Tony's uncle said? Speaking, Curry directly imitated Obadiah's helpless expression at the time. Hey, Tony, recently, I have been busy studying and communicating with which female models. There is no time to study any mobile phone system at all. Ha ha ha. Speaking of which, Mr. Curry obviously laughed, held back the smile in his mouth, and then said calmly. As for Lynn, we've looked into it before, and it's undeniable that he's a genius and has been praised by many Harvard professors. However, compared with a monster like Tony Stark, it is too far behind. It is absolutely impossible to develop a mobile phone operating system within a month. To know. We spent tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of people worked together, and it took a whole year to successfully develop it. Tisk tisk tisk. It's not that I laugh at them, but the R&D level of Xingyao Company, and give them another 100 years, they can't even eat our farts. Ha ha ha. For what Curry said, Rebs began to slowly nod in agreement, his expression softened. Originally, he expressed strong doubts about Xingyao Company, and when he heard Curry say this, his expression immediately relaxed. Then, some cruel smiles. Okay, since that's the case, then we should reveal their true colors this time. Otherwise, slander our fruit company without paying the price. This doesn't fit our style of Rebs. In this regard, the fruit company nodded in agreement. Indeed, without giving Xingyao Company a lesson, how can they let them know? What a humility. During the next period of time, the fruit company took the lead in launching a public opinion war against Xingyao Company. Informant report. Chairman Xingyao has no business operation experience, and his future prospects are worrying. Shock. Xingyao company even blatantly fraudulently attempted to defraud the shareholders' money. On the New York Daily and many other newspapers, there are countless headlines similar to the UC shocking party. At the same time, Shining Star is not far behind. There was also a scolding war on the newspaper. Shocked by industry rumors. The fruit company's January press conference was blatantly fraudulent. Shock. It turns out that the fruit company's mobile phone system is completely inoperable. The scolding war between the two big companies made a large number of the United States viewers eat a big melon. Cursing and cursing, the two companies suddenly became popular. In the later stage, vaguely the two companies began to cooperate tacitly. You curse. I swear. Then, the United States mobile phone market has become popular, and a large number of people who eat melon are full of expectations for smartphones. Time passed slowly, and it has reached June 28, 2007. According to the trajectory of the previous Blue Star, the fruit company should officially release the fruit smartphone on June 29. Soar to the sky from now on. And this time, fruits, Xingyao compete on the same stage. Who is the king? Just see tomorrow. June 28, night, Los Angeles, Starlight Company. As a well-known city in the United States, Los Angeles is still brightly lit at night. I saw that on the main street. The crowd was crowded, shoulder to shoulder. Start the nightlife that belongs to Los Angeles. At the moment, Lin is holding a meeting at Shining Star. I saw him sitting at the head of the conference room, staring at all the department managers, putting pressure on everyone. Then he said calmly, "Tomorrow, at 9 a.m. on June 29, we will officially sell our Xingyao smartphone, Xingyao 1. I believe everyone has worked hard during this time, but your hard work will not be in vain. As long as the number of sales exceeds 20,000 units tomorrow, everyone's bonus this year will be doubled." Then, under everyone's surprised eyes, he said slowly, "If tomorrow's sales are more than the fruit company, then everyone's wages will double this month." But, Lin's tone changed and said coldly, "If there is a mistake in any aspect, don't blame me for being ruthless. Now, let's check it again. The website, system, sales and other links must be reviewed again. Make sure there are no problems with tomorrow's sales. Do you understand?" As everyone nodded, Lin strode out of the room. All the department managers were all reclining on their chairs with a sigh of relief. During this time, in order to ensure that the Xingyao mobile phone completely crushed the fruit mobile phone, he trained these managers a lot, putting a lot of pressure on them. These managers, now convinced by Lin, were even a little scared. Say what? What to do? As for those who were unconvinced, they had already been expelled. Mi yuan is in hand. What can't you find? The next day, at 9 a.m., all major mobile phone stores in the United States began to list Fruit 1 or Xingyao 1. Consumers, who had been greatly interested in the war between the two sides in the past few months, walked into the store waving large sums of cash. Among them, the heir to the Osborne enterprise, Harry Osborne, is particularly concerned. As the heir to a biotech company, he is extremely interested in any high-tech tool. Smartphones appear now, a typical high-tech product, and naturally it will not be an exception. Directly ask someone to buy all Fruit 1 and Shining Star 1 with cash. He would like to see, who is the better of the two mobile phone companies that have been making a lot of trouble recently. As for the lineup yourself. Sorry. As the heir to the Osborne business. Can't afford to lose this face. Then, at home waiting for the assistant to buy the latest two smartphones. In less than 2 hours, I saw that the assistant had already driven back, and then he ran over with great interest and took away the two mobile phone cases that the assistant had in his hand. Go back to your bedroom and delve into it. First open the fruit company's Fruit 1. Hiss. As expected of a smartphone, it is truly extraordinary. I saw a black cuboid, with edges and corners, very delicate, and the front is a full-body glazed screen with gorgeous colors. There are layers of bangs on top and a small groove on the bottom. From the previous impressions, the physical keyboard and the black and white screen are suddenly different. The only downside is that the screen is a bit small for Harry, who is used to big screens. However, this does not affect usage. Long press the power button and wait for a while. I saw icons appearing on the screen, and the whole looks like some kind of technological artwork, which makes people happy. After powering on, simply try it out, open the phone book, open the memo, and so on. Found it to be quite smooth to use. Except for the occasional lag. Made a phone call, got through smoothly, and the sound quality was okay. Not bad, the fruit company's products can still be reused. Immediately afterwards, he turned his attention to the mobile phone case on the other side. This is a smartphone produced by Shining Star Company. Starlight 1. Once opened. Wow. The two are similar in size and about the same size. But, no matter how you look at it, the screen of the Xingyao phone is bigger than that of the fruit phone. It should be caused by the absence of bangs in the grooves below. This surprised Harry by surprise. From this point of view, Fruit 1 is not fragrant in an instant. Next, try to boot. Well, the boot speed is quite fast, obviously faster than Fruit 1. After booting, you will see the same icon appear on the screen. However, it is obvious that the number of icons is much larger than the Fruit 1. I tried one of the software again, and the opening speed is also quite smooth. Immediately after, set your sights on a ninja and fruit icon. It says, Fruit Ninja. When Harry saw it, he knew it was a game. And the name. It looks like it is aimed at fruit companies, generally specializing in cutting fruit. Sure enough, are the two companies hostile? Ha ha ha. Then click on Fruit Ninja and start sliding. A fruit popped up on the screen, he flicked his finger, and a knife appeared to cut the fruit. Another fruit jumped out, cut it off, jumped out again, and cut it again. It's just a simple little game. However, in the process of skating, Harry was surprised to find that he had been addicted for nearly an hour. This game. It's just so much fun. As for the fruit company's mobile phone, there is no fun game. It's all the same type of Tetris, rubbish. Just throw it in a corner of the bedroom and don't pay attention anymore. Then, continue to open Xingyao 1. Open Fruit Ninja and continue to cut fruit. After cutting for another hour, I felt a little tired. Then, suddenly remembered that there are other game icons on the phone, and immediately returned to the desktop. Find the icon of a bird that says, Angry Birds. After opening, addicted to it again. Repeated this many times until Harry felt his neck was really uncomfortable and his eyes were sore. Just looked up at the window. Good guy. It's late at night. Xingyao's mobile phone was so magical that it took him more than 10 hours. OMG. Where did such an amazing product come from? The next day at 9 a.m., Silicon Valley, Fruit Company headquarters. Rebs stood in the conference room excitedly, looking at the managers of all the departments below. He looked at Jack, the sales manager, and asked in a slightly urgent tone. Jack, how are our daily sales of fruit phones? Jack, how are our daily sales of fruit phones? Facing Reb's question, the sales manager Jack said solemnly with a hint of joy in his voice. According to statistics, the 24-hour fruit mobile phone sales are as high as 12 million yuan. Hearing this, Rebs clearly showed joy on his face. It sold 12 million in just one day, and it will be fermented later. With word of mouth, it has exceeded 100 million yuan. That is not a sprinkle of water. Then, some curious asked, how much is the sales of Xingyao Company? Jack replied softly, our daily sales are higher than that of Xingyao Company. We are 12 million, and the other party is only 10 million. Hearing this, Rebs showed a satisfied look and nodded subconsciously. Sure enough, the district Xingyao Company is no match for the fruit company that he has been running for many years. Immediately afterwards, Jack's voice was hesitant. But, hearing Jack's hesitant tone, Rebs felt a little uneasy in his heart, and said sharply. But, go on. Jack said frankly, our price is 600 meters, while the price of Xingyao's mobile phone is 400 meters. So, based on the number of sales, we sell a total of 20,000 units a day, while Shining Star Company sells 25,000 units a day. Hearing what Jack said, Reb's expression changed slightly. The difference is a full 5,000 units, which is equivalent to 1/4 of the number. This is definitely because of the price effect. Otherwise, the number of fruit mobile phone sales will definitely go up. Reb's so comforted. So, the tone returned to normal and said to Jack. It's okay, The quality of our products is obvious to all, and sooner or later the cheap goods from Xingyao company will have problems. At that time, our fruit company will still win. Said, waved his hand. Jack saw this and sat down immediately. Then Rebs talked with other department managers about the fruit phone. After a while, all managers leave the meeting room. Then, Rebs directly picked up the phone next to him and instructed his assistant. Buy me a copy of Xingyao's smartphone, I want to experience it. Then, go back to your office. He's not an idiot. People who can afford a smartphone these days are basically wealthy and face the only smartphone. A mere 200 yuan difference will not affect the judgment of too many people. With poor people, that's possible. This is why he dared to set the price so high. For those with thin assets, high price means high quality and are more willing to buy. Such a problem occurs. There must be some differences between the two phones that led to such a big gap in sales. If he didn't figure this out, the unease in his heart could not be suppressed. After an hour, following the assistant's footsteps, he hurried to the chairman's office. Rebs also stopped to organize the files, and he took a look. Xingyao mobile phone, what's so weird? After opening the Xingyao mobile phone, I found that there is no space left on the front of the Xingyao mobile phone, and there is a whole black screen. Suddenly a little disdain. In his opinion, being small and exquisite is king. Then, long press the power button to power on, and find that the boot speed will indeed be faster. But it should not lead to such a big difference in the number of sales between the two. Immediately afterwards, I saw a large number of icons appearing at the top of the screen after booting. Look at the names in it. Immediately, something suddenly dawned on me. Turn out to be, Xingyao mobile phone has a large number of built-in games as a selling point in advance, no wonder there is a gap in the sales volume. It seems, consumers should be attracted by the game, and he will arrange it later, and put a few games in it. Well, the number of sales should immediately surpass that of Shining Star. What to do? Immediately afterwards, he opened one of the games with the bird icon. Angry Birds. Well, he didn't play because he was bored. Purely for information on competing products. Then, the mood fluctuates up and down with the red bird, and the finger keeps sliding the screen. After a long time, Rebs moved his aching neck and suddenly realized. It's 1 p.m. today. Long live. This game is so fun. Immediately afterwards, he thought of something. By the way, open other games and try them one by one. The more you play, the more ugly your face becomes. What happened? The R&D ability of Xingyao company was relatively weak from the beginning, how could it develop so many fun games? With the brains of those programmers, he couldn't believe it. This is definitely a genius in planning. In this way, Rebs was a little restless. Go on like this. 80% of the sales volume will be lower than that of Shining Star company. No, the price must be reduced. The same price and high quality can suppress the Xingyao mobile phone. Then, Rebs began making direct phone calls with department managers. It's been a week since the launch. Lin, at the moment, is standing under the huge amounts of screen in the conference room. I saw a few large flame-colored characters written on the screen. Congratulations to Xingyao mobile phone sales exceeded 100 million. At the moment, Lin is standing in the middle of the conference room in high spirits and meeting with everyone. This time, Xingyao mobile phone won a big victory. In just 1 week, sales have exceeded 100 million yuan, and now it is nearly 200 million. The wealth value alone has gained nearly 2 million. This is a great harvest. As for fruit companies, rubbish. Lin thought with disdain. Regardless of the high price of fruit mobile phones that day, the daily sales volume exceeds that of Xingyao mobile phones. But that day, the number of mobile phone sales of Xingyao has exceeded 1/4 of that of fruit mobile phones. Day 2 only. With that, the two mobile phones began to discuss on the internet and began to compare. All of a sudden, Xingyao's smartphone sales began to skyrocket. There is no change in the fruit phone, the only change is to reduce the price to 400 meters. Well, the price is the same as that of Xingyao mobile phone. But does it work? Useless. In order to completely crush the fruit company this time, it is best for the fruit company to withdraw from the mobile phone industry. He moved out all the small games of the previous life. Like Fruit Killer, Angry Chick, Bounce and more. Spend more money to guide and hype it up. Good guy. Within a few days, the number of fruit phone sales began to plummet. It has only been less than a week, and the sales volume of the other party is less than 40 million yuan. Moreover, the current daily increase in sales is only 2 or 3 million. In other words, only a few thousand units are newly added each day, and they continue to decline. To know. It's only been 7 days, and the gap between the two smartphones is already showing. Now, Xingyao mobile phone directly occupies about 60% to 70% of the entire smartphone market. It's conceivable, just work harder. You can definitely force fruit companies out of the smartphone industry. To know. Smartphone research and development costs a lot of money, and the former Shining Star company almost collapsed. Moreover, this time, the fruit company has not even recovered the cost. As long as the fruit company withdraws from the mobile phone industry, it will be difficult for the United States to meet its opponents again. By the time, develop an open source system by yourself. Plan again. Really can control the global mobile phone market. Ha ha ha. Think about it, a little excited. It is said that the current Rebs is shouting in the company, full of anger, and showing up with a shaved face all day long, completely missing the energy he had before. It seems that the other party's life is not easy. But, these are not the most important thing is that the upgrade will follow the system. According to the information, as long as the wealth value reaches 10 million, in other words, the sales volume of fruit mobile phones reaches 1 billion yuan, it can be upgraded to the second-order language. By the time, the truly extraordinary ability will be revealed in front of Lin. And he will gain real self-preservation in the Marvel world. As long as the wealth value is high enough, even the Ancient One magician, even the purple sweet potato, is a small kiss. In one sentence, they can lose all their abilities. Therefore, Lin looked at the sales manager and said encouragingly, "Tom, we still need to work harder on the sales of Xingyao mobile phones. Even though we've had a lot of success right now, we can't take it easy. Completely crushing the fruit company and getting him out of the smartphone market is our goal. Otherwise, it's not good for them to find an opportunity to resist. Although we are not afraid, it is very troublesome. It's a real distraction for them to stay there." Watching manager Tom constantly nodding, Lin stroked his chin in satisfaction. Then look around for a week. To all the technical staff, said loudly. The success of Xingyao Mobile is just a starting point for our success. In the future, there will be more money and more yuan waiting for us to earn. As long as you earnestly complete the tasks assigned to you by the company will never treat you badly. Tickets, reputation will be there. Now, I hope you can walk out of the conference room with your head held high. Start the next work with full enthusiasm. Our target is. Speaking of which, I saw all the senior executives and managers of Xingyao company shouting in unison with excited voices. Down with fruit companies and dominate the smartphone market. Ha ha ha. Morale is available. Lin then watched with satisfaction as all the company executives left the conference room in turn. A month later, in Los Angeles, the Shining Star Company office. Lin was holding the Los Angeles Journal in his hand, looking at the huge text on it. The fruit company was affected by the Xingyao mobile phone, the stock price fell sharply, and a large number of shareholders sold their stocks. Seeing this, Lin nodded with satisfaction. This is a big price he paid, and he specially invited people to sing the fruit company. On the one hand, it is to further damage the reputation of the fruit company and make consumers shy away from the fruit mobile phone brand. Just ask, who dares to buy a mobile phone that is about to go bankrupt? Lin, on the other hand, is buying shares of the fruit company at a low price. He didn't forget that the fruit company was preparing to buy the shares in his hands at a low price. It's called tit for tat. Definitely, the more important thing is to completely eliminate this competitor. Once the fruit company is acquired by Xingyao company, it will be completely powerless. You must know that although consumers may feel that the fruit system is not as good as the Xingyao system, the potential of the fruit system is there. Once there is capital injection later, it is very likely that earth-shaking changes will occur. He can vividly remember the memories of his previous life. Fruit companies are the top players in the global smartphone market. That's why Lin is so easy on the fruit company. How can I ask, in the face of such an enemy, who will not completely eliminate it, only willing to give up? But these are secondary. The most important thing right now is. Lynn set her eyes on the system light curtain that appeared in front of her. I saw 3 golden fonts outlined in front of the light curtain, and the numbers behind them kept changing. Wealth value. 9,987,939. Wealth value. 9,992,924. Wealth value. 9,996,987. Wealth value. There was a sudden voice in Lynn's ear. Ding! Congratulations to the host, the wealth value has accumulated to 10 million, and the system is in the process of upgrading. The upgrade is successful, the current system is. Second order words follow the system. Second order words follow the system. The moment the system upgrade was successful, Lynn felt her heart skip a beat. Finally, the upgrade was successful. This month, in order to break through 1 billion yuan in mobile phone sales, he works overtime. Supervise others. Now, the upgrade is finally successful. It also means Lynn has extraordinary powers. Think about this. Lynn looked around and saw that the concealment was strong. Said softly. Flame. Almost instantly, a crimson flame appeared in front of Lynn. Lynn clearly felt that as long as his mind moved, the flames would follow the trend. Even more amazing. Lynn could clearly see the space distorted by the hot flames, but he didn't feel the slightest discomfort, only a warm feeling. Slightly probed forward with his finger, and found that there was no harm, but a warm feeling appeared on his finger, as if wearing a finger caught. As for the power, Lynn's mind moved, and the flame instantly moved to the trash can. Almost less than a second, I smell a burnt smell. Then, in less than 5 seconds, the trash can was completely burned, leaving only a pile of black ash marks, as if to prove the existence of the trash can. As for the smell, Lynn frowned slightly and said softly. Clean. Almost instantly, the entire space was odorless, and even Lynn could smell a faint scent. Lynn nodded in satisfaction. Although not experienced a real battle, but with the previous power. As long as hundreds of people don't come to besiege him, he can be completely strangled in just 1 minute. If there are less than 10 people, it can be killed instantly. But defense power has not been tested here. After all, this is a modern world, and there are snipers, and if they snipe themselves from a distance, it would be really troublesome. Mind turning. Suddenly, Lynn said tentatively. Solid sharp intuition. Almost instantly, Lynn saw that the wealth value in the system was greatly reduced, and the consumption stopped by nearly 1/5. A full 2 million wealth value was consumed. But Lynn was very pleased with the results, and he now clearly felt safe here. At the same time, he can also feel that not far away are other people respecting and even admiring him. As for malice, Lynn sensed that there was a slight evil and weak malice coming from the far west, looming, barely noticing, not even aware of it. That direction is exactly the direction of Silicon Valley. Don't think about it at all, it's definitely the fruit company, especially Rebs. Now, under Lynn's deliberate suppression and guidance, the fruit company is about to collapse, and it is natural to have malicious intent. This bit of malice, Lynn didn't take it to heart. However, the behavior just now made Lynn very happy. Although he has a system of speaking out and following the law, he is currently an ordinary person. If you don't have time to use words and dharmas in a short time, then you have no resistance to ability at all. However, there is a function of curing. Then, the picture and ability imagined by Lynn can be realized. So, Lynn said aloud. Strengthening doubles physical fitness. Almost instantly, Lynn felt a strange energy pouring into her body. During the pouring process, she could clearly feel the tearing and pain in her muscles. It made him scream uncontrollably. However, after a minute or so, the energy stopped instilling. Lynn clenched his fist hard and waved it far away, and could clearly feel a powerful force bursting out of his muscles. Feel free to jump and find that you are jumping higher and farther than before. If the previous physical fitness was just an ordinary person, then the current physical fitness is definitely a professional and strictly trained soldier. This made Lynn sigh. Really? Plugins can make one step to the sky. It is impossible for ordinary people to achieve this quality without training for 7 or 8 years. As for consumption, Lynn glanced at it, about 200,000 wealth value. Tisk tisk. Not too expensive, but not cheap either. So, Lin wanted to try harder, so she said softly. Strengthening twice the physical fitness. Almost at the same time, a light curtain appeared in front of Lin, which was a reminder of the system. Ding! After testing, it takes 400,000 wealth points for strengthening to double physical fitness. At the same time, it is very likely that the muscles will be seriously damaged due to multiple energy infusions in a short period of time. It is recommended to carry out strengthening after 10 days. Excuse me, do you continue to strengthen your physical fitness? Hearing the system reminder, Lin immediately stopped talking. If you don't listen to the system, you will suffer in front of you. In short, 10 days, it is not impossible to wait. Then, the hut began to crackle. I saw what Lin said constantly. Gather water. Lightning. Wind blade. Decay. Weak. After a long time, with Lin's, back to the original. In an instant, everything in the office floated and then returned to its original position. Even if the item is damaged, it will start to be repaired automatically. The whole scene makes people feel like they are controlled by magic, and there is quite a feeling of Harry Potter's magic. Lin is still very satisfied with the secondary performance method follow-up system. But, at one point, Lin felt a little sullen. Originally, Lin saw that the system could solidify some abilities and strengthen physical fitness. Then, I want to solidify some extraordinary abilities for myself, such as the power to control the wind, the power of fire, the power of water, etc. In this way, you can use the extraordinary ability directly without consuming the wealth value. Will greatly save consumption. Result. The system replies to the current level of speech and language, which is not supported by the system. A higher level of speaking can solidify the extraordinary ability. So, no one else feels discouraged, isn't it just to make money, he is good at this. With his system and his previous life experience, his goal is to be the richest man in the world. Ha ha ha. Thinking of this, Lin's mouth curved into a slight smile. Go ahead and start sorting out the work at hand. Now. Making money is the priority. After all, 100 million wealth value is the standard for the third-order performance method to be opened with the system. And now, the Marvel world has not yet opened, and Tony will become Iron Man, and there will be nearly a year left. The remaining stable days need to develop well. Lay the foundation for the future crisis. Half a month later, Manhattan, New York, Trident Building. This is the Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau, which is the future SHIELD headquarters. In the director's office, Nick Fury was slightly holding the table with both hands. His face was a little ugly. He stared sharply at the middle-aged white man opposite, and said slowly. Phil Coulson, give me a reason. Why? We train the agent for a long time and can't sneak into a mobile phone company. Tell me why. Speaking of which, Nick Fury's tone was obviously surprised. He is well aware of his own training of agent ability, how many times he has completed difficult tasks before, and now he can't even sneak into a mobile phone company. Doesn't this show that there is a problem? It doesn't matter if something goes wrong. But why hasn't a reason been given yet? In this regard, Phil Coulson agent was also silent for a while. He did not expect such a result at all. Originally, the director said this task, he thought it was a trivial matter, just arrange one of his agents to complete it. As a result, just after sending an agent, he was rejected not long after he joined the company. You must know that the identity of this agent has been carefully forged, and all aspects, including academic ability, are excellent, and most people can't find any problems at all. So I was a little surprised at the time, but I didn't think much about it, and then changed to another person. As a result, 3 times in a row, all were rejected. This makes Phil Coulson feel a little tricky. Even if the stock price of a mere mobile phone company has risen sharply recently and the development trend is very good, it will never happen. This is not the military. And, even the military, the people they arranged would not notice it so quickly. Originally, Phil Coulson, who was a little puzzled by the director's arrangement of this job, immediately began to look serious. Fully investigate this company. Result. Found everything without any problems. In addition to the fact that the current chairman Lin's father was in a car accident for some strange reasons, and that Lin is too talented. It's really a bit strange, there's no incongruity to be found. The whole company is really clean. Or, after Lin's management of the company, They are all very loyal people, not even a commercial spy. In fact, during this time, Lin has been involved in the following things in the company. Or, the company's development situation is all good, he is idle and bored, so he walks around. And he takes this aspect of the company's employment very seriously. In the previous life, he was tricked and owed a lot of debt, which was due to the betrayal of his confidants. So, live another life, for loyalty. In terms of heart level, he is quite concerned. Then, every time the company concentrated on recruiting people, he would watch silently by the side. Then, say something softly. I think, people who enter the company with bad intentions should be dizzy. Result. A large number of commercial espionage, including SHIELD, and even Hydra agents have been cleared out. Definitely, Lin didn't know that SHIELD was involved with Hydra people. In his opinion, it must be arranged by a hostile company's commercial espionage. So, mercilessly all rejected. So it's causing trouble for Phil Coulson and even the guys over at Hydra. In their opinion, a mere mobile phone company, not a key department such as the military or the CIA, is naturally surprised by such a result. Could it be? Which giant crocodile company was launched by Xingyao Company? But, no matter how you check, you can't find the pusher behind it. So, there's Nick Fury questioning Phil Coulson. Seeing this, Phil Coulson replied in a cautious tone. Director, I don't think it's a matter of latent work anymore. It's an anomaly. The agents I personally trained, we all know their abilities and experience. It's impossible not to lurk into an ordinary tech company. I applied, directly transferred out the top agent in the bureau, lurked to investigate in person, and the investigation was clean. Or, simply use the official name to investigate this company. Nick Fury was silent for Phil Coulson's suggestion, and then said calmly. Don't worry about this, I'll arrange it. Hearing what the director said, Phil Coulson didn't say much. He called Roar and walked out of the director's office. Although he is very interested in Xingyao Company, he has a lot of things on his hands. If it wasn't for the fact that the director told him to do this task well, he wouldn't be paying attention to this matter. Nick Fury frowned slightly after seeing Phil Coulson gone. Then he picked up the phone next to him and said into the phone. Call Natasha Romanoff agent here. Then, start processing the files in hand. To be honest, he didn't really take it too seriously. Tyler Duncan is special if it weren't for Lin's father. He was a member of Captain America's Roaring Commando and later one of the founders of the Homeland Strategic Defense Offensive and Logistics Agency. He won't pay attention. And this time, the agent was dispatched to lurk in the company he left behind. It's not because the accident was so weird. It had to remind him of the death of Tony's parents, Howard, many years ago. Although outside they reported that it was because of a car accident, totally accidental. But in fact, this matter was handled by him himself, and he knew exactly what was weird in it. And Lin's father, Taylor, seemed suspicious and left the bureau to start the company. There has been no contact for so many years, and the two sides treat each other as if they do not exist. But, there was a car accident some time ago. According to the investigation, there were human factors in it. He had to make him suspect that Taylor had obtained key information, and the mysterious strength of that party had shot again. So, he asked Phil Coulson to send someone to sneak into the company, and it was best to get key information. Even if you can't get it, by observing Lin's actions, it is possible to find the traces of the mysterious forces. However, a strange place appeared. He carefully trained the agent, and he has sneaked into the secret place many times and obtained a lot of information, but he lost his hand in a company. It really got him interested. After a while, there was a knock on the door. Boom, boom, boom. Director, it's me. Hearing the familiar voice, a smile flashed across Nick Fury's face, but it turned serious. Come in, Natasha Romanoff agent. With the sound of the door opening, Black Widow Natasha Romanoff, dressed in a tight black battle suit, entered the office. He strode directly to Chief Fury and asked very neatly. Director, is there anything I need to do? The two were very familiar with each other, and Fury tapped on the desk and said bluntly. Natasha Romanoff, I have a mission for you. Saying that, handed the documents on the desk to Black Widow Natasha Romanoff. After Natasha Romanoff took the document, she glanced at it carefully, frowned slightly, and asked curiously. If the information is true, this company is indeed a little weird. But, after I successfully infiltrated this company, what is my mission? Black Widow is very confident in his ability and doesn't think he will fail at all. Nick Fury seems to know what kind of person Black Widow is, admitting frankly. First of all, it is to find out exactly how he screened out our agents. Secondly, pay attention to the people around him, and have not contacted some other organizational forces. At last. Having said that, Fury frowned slightly and said with a sigh. Try to keep him safe. After all, the opponent's father has a close relationship with the Bureau, and Lin also has a lot of money in his hands, so there may be cooperation in the future. Black Widow was obviously surprised at Nick Fury's last request. But her agent literacy over the years made her reply directly. It is good. I'll go to the intelligence department to get information about Lin and his company first, and then make a plan. Watching Chief Fury nodded, Black Widow Natasha Romanoff left directly. Then, after a brief thought, no more thought. You know, as the director of the Homeland Strategic Defense, Attack and Logistics Support Bureau, it can be said that he is a daily manager. There are countless jobs for him to approve every day. For example, a large number of agents are already very dissatisfied with such a long name of their own organization. Frequent applications. Must respond. Also have to change a simple and domineering point of the name. The idea is basically there. It's called SHIELD. Abbreviated name for the Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency. However, the council has been holding on to this small issue, which made him very dissatisfied. I have to work harder, find my old boss, Alexander Pierce, and ask him to talk again. To be honest, he was also very dissatisfied with such a long name in the bureau. Night, Los Angeles, Lucifer Bar. Although it is night, the night in Los Angeles is even louder than the day. Because the nightlife has just begun. And Lin himself is also very interested in the nightlife of Los Angeles. He had never been abroad in the previous life, and the memory of the original body was feasting. He's also been experiencing the bustling Los Angeles nights recently. By the way, you can also find beautiful Oni-san to study and exchange at the hotel together. Ha ha. He came to the bar with the mentality of learning. Not long after sitting at the bar, he started dancing with everyone. After dancing for a while, I felt tired, so I sat up in a nearby seat where beautiful women gathered. With his superb chatting skills, it didn't take long for them to start hugging each other. How uncomfortable. You take a sip, I take a sip, drinking slowly. By the way, exchange and learn the knowledge of body parts. Feels very good, big and small. No, knowledge is very good, but there are too many categories. After having fun, just say a word to Roar. All consumption tonight will be paid by Mr. Lin. Suddenly, the bar was boiling. And there are more and more female friends around, so he needs to learn a lot of knowledge. Haha, so hilarious. After playing for a while, I suddenly found that there was a beautiful white woman sitting on the bar not far away, looking at Oni-san who was absolutely in shape, and her body was tightly wrapped, and her hot-blooded figure was fully revealed. It's his type. Somewhat surprised, the other party had been drinking suffocating wine there and did nothing. Then, Lin sat directly next to him, ready to strike up a conversation. Result. Seeing the other person's face, he immediately woke up. This woman is very familiar. With Lin's powerful memory, I found that I have seen each other's figures frequently in recent days. We met again at the bar tonight. Are you saying it's amazing? No, it's not something that can be solved by magic, it can be said to be weird. Even Lin can be sure that someone deliberately designed it. The other party's face, figure, dress and so on are completely in line with Lin's preferences. If ordinary people meet, there is absolutely no resistance to ability. This can't help but make him wonder, which force, in order to get close to him, actually displayed such a beautiful trick. It's completely in line with his liking, and this is so attentive. Then, sitting next to him, he picked up the wine glass and gave a slight gesture, and started to strike up a conversation with his superb chatting skills. After all, the enemies are here, so we have to see who it is. Hello, I'm Lin, what's your name? Roar. Beauty Oni-san replied coldly. I'm Emily Marcy. If you have nothing else to do, please leave immediately. I don't have time to chat now, I just want to drink. Then started drinking booze. This high cold energy is really in line with his liking, and he likes the high cold Oni-san to communicate with. Take the former Catherine reporter, for example. I have to say, the preparation is really in place. Then, roared directly to the bartender, stretched out his hand and said with a smile. I'll pay for Miss Emily's consumption tonight. By the way, get the best wine you have here. As he spoke, he observed Emily Marcy's expression. Sure enough, there was a hint of joy on her face, which did not escape Lin's eyes. Then the two started chatting. Miss Emily, I know the owner of this bar very well. Next, everything went smoothly, your words and my words. Slowly getting closer and closer, and even starting to have a negative distance. Drinking more and more alcohol. Lin found that the other party was trying to get him drunk, and Emily's boldness in drinking made him a little ashamed. Pity. His physical fitness has been blessed, and in terms of drinking, it can be said that he can't pour a cup. Otherwise he wouldn't come to the bar. As a result, Lin was not drunk yet, and the other party had already begun to be drunk. With his keen intuition, Lin clearly felt that the other party was starting to let down his guard. So, run the words and follow the fate, said softly. I think, you will truthfully say the forces behind you and the purpose, and forget what you said. At the same time, as if thinking of something, he uttered another sentence. I think, at this moment, the communication between the two will not be known to anyone outside by any means. Almost instantly, in a secret room thousands of miles away, a white man wearing earphones suddenly made a harsh chirping sound. He directly picked up the earphone and threw it fiercely into the distance. After a while, it was found that the headset was not beeping, but it was found that a previous recording had been damaged. But I didn't care, this kind of thing happens occasionally. System failure. Just a small question, continue to observe the conversation that follows. At the same time, Emily said in a stiff tone as if being controlled. I am affiliated with Hydra Los Angeles. According to the order, the goal is to obtain Tyler Duncan's relic, to explore. As Emily continued to talk, Lin's face slowly became more and more ugly. Turn out to be. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and support our channel.